The kind of stuff you don't hear because it happens during the pre-show. Dad noises? I think we're good. All right. Are we good then? I think we're good. Everybody's ready?
Ready, Freddy.
Let's get this little fucked up train on the road, huh?
I mean, it must be fucked up if we're driving a train on the road.
Inception called, they want their stick back.
What kind of acid was that we dropped? Shut up and keep this train going straight. All right, here we go. You know, I have to ask before we... How the fuck would you drive a train on the road? There's no tracks. There's no, like, steering on a train. It just follows a pre-laid fucking road. How the hell would you drive the train?
We must figure this out before we start.
Right.
With a shit ton of sparks.
A shit ton of... Well, we've accomplished tearing up the sidewalk and taking out a house. That's about it so far. Welcome to the oddest little podcast on the internet, The Odd Pod. What's going on, everybody? I am Stacy Kruger. Who are you guys?
I am casually challenged.
Rad Hazard.
I'm Robbie.
Rad, that has to be the most animated I've ever heard you in my entire life. I like it.
I'm not bad, just drawn that way.
Oh, that was Roger Rabbit, the slut. What was her name?
Jessica Rabbit.
Jessica Rabbit,
Not
yes.
a slut. How dare you, sir?
She
Wasn't there a scene in that movie where she legitimately showed her vagina?
Yes,
what?
actually.
Oh, internet.
Yeah, it was like
please.
It was like a tenth of a second. It was edited out and later released.
As she bounces out of the cab.
I'm looking this up as we speak. Hold on, guys. I need to see... Why do I need to see a Jessica Rabbit vagina? Because it's... Just, oh my fucking shit. You're not joking. That is some straight up fucking clam, dude. And internet, you never cease to amaze me. You know, this is why you don't turn safe search off. Ever.
You at any point have safe search on?
Well, you know, when I'm on air, I like to turn it on so I don't like come up like, oh, look, titties everywhere. But Jesus Christ, just how much Jessica Rabbit porn does the internet really need? Holy shit.
All of it.
And I just, it, oh my God, dude. Like
Stacey, if at any point you think you have enough porn, you don't have enough porn.
And my main question is this: how big of a dick does Roger Rabbit really need to have? Jesus Christ! You could see the sides of her like lips, her cheeks like ripping open from this massive rabbit cock.
Well, I mean, have you seen the size of his feet?
Listen, I have monstrous feet. I can disprove that myth right now. Believe me. I could drop my pants. You guys would be like, LOL, 1.5 long donger. All right, yeah. I don't make it past the vagina lips. Yeah, all right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we made it 2 minutes before we started talking about penis.
Oh, God damn it. Well, we started off beforehand with vagina, so does that make up for it?
Well, sort of. To be fair, Jessica Rabbit, she was the wet dream for an entire generation, so...
Wet dreams. Speaking of wet dreams, and one I've been having one about, and it's an irrational wet dream because you guys are going to go, Stacy, it's just a video game. Why are you having wet dreams? It's fucking Injustice 2. Why would I not have a wet dream about this game? And not because I like fighter games. I'm actually not a fan of fighter games whatsoever. Strictly because the storyline is that fucking good. Well, at least for number one, it was just thrilling. I played the game strictly for the storyline. I haven't touched it since, which is kind of a shame because that game is stupidly short with the storyline, but god damn is it good, you know?
I don't know. I've never played the Injustice game.
Oh, I thought you had. Okay.
Well, the basic premise was that, if I remember right, it was like a multiple universe thing.
Yes,
Where
good and bad,
like-
you know, kind of swap roles basically.
Yeah, in one universe, the Joker nukes Metropolis, and that causes Superman to murder him and turn evil, like a dictator.
Yeah, that one I was just like, whoa, what? And that's when I became interested in Infamous comics. All right, good job, Stacey. All right, Jesus Christ, this is destined to be an interesting podcast. If I'm already fucking up all of the words, Jesus, no, but
I mean, I haven't played any of the Infamous games, but sure.
I'm in love with the Infamous games. We'll talk about that soon too. No, but the Injustice comic book series is fantastic also. Well, at least the universe in general is fantastic, but seeing sorry about that. Seeing Batman as the bad guy, it was kind of a mind fuck, because growing up, Batman was always just like, you know, like the stereotypical white knight from every chat room we go into, like, please leave her alone, be a good person, blah 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 blah. You know, just
I think you'd be Superman.
What did I say? Did I say Batman?
Yeah.
You know, maybe I should actually sleep before a podcast, at least more than a couple hours. Maybe I should drink coffee. You know, hey guys, I'm Stacey Kruger. I'm going to go sit in the corner of shame now. Jesus.
Oh, God.
I do not like the cone of shame.
But Superman is the pinnacle of everything that's right in the world and everything that's perfect, you know, and to see him go, you know, fuck you, we're going to kill people to keep this shit straight. It was kind of a mind fuck. It really was, you know?
Okay,
Well, I mean, he's called the Big Blue Boy Scout for a reason.
Yeah, good point.
so I haven't played the games, but as I understand it, it's a fighting game,
Yes.
right? And Superman is one of the fighters.
Correct.
Why is that not, like, he's Superman? Isn't he literally just going to destroy everyone?
See, that's what I
All the
thought
other-
too.
In the story, all the other characters get like some magic kryptonite nanotechnology that basically makes them almost indestructible too.
It's always just some magical thing, some magical pill, some magical rock gun that just goes, oh, look, Superman can't fight back. It makes zero fucking sense, I'll admit it, but it's still fun.
It's kind of like we've discussed it before, where the Flash is completely overpowered, but it's just like, for example, I was watching the latest episode of The Flash, and it comes to a point where he's fighting the villain of the week, and he literally stops and says some quippy line, which I get, that's part of the Flash. He's a quipster as well as a speedster.
Yeah.
But dude, if you would just go up and punch the person right in their stupid face with your super fastness, they wouldn't have a chance to do anything. Then you put them in the jail that you've created that can hold them. Then from the other side of the prison, you give your little quip. Hey, blah, 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 funny, haha.
I can't disagree with you at all. That's the problem. But at the same time, though, go ahead. Sorry.
But then they wouldn't have the TV show would have been 2 episodes long.
Well, okay. Either it would have been 2 episodes long, or every episode would be the Flash stopping literally every criminal. Now, I know it would be hard to write, but here's an idea for the next phase of DC when they eventually finish the Arrowverse and start on their next thing, because you know it's going to happen eventually.
Oh, of course.
Write these characters as powerful as they are, right? So you have Superman, you have the Flash, you have whatever. Do the whole episode as like just a typical dramedy type thing, or a sitcom or whatever, and don't even focus on the criminal aspect. Like, oh, I've got all these powers. Wow, I'm super powerful. I'm like a god. He stops the crime in like the first 5 minutes of the movie. or episode, and then the rest is just family drama.
That, you know, as
I
someone
somehow don't think that would be very popular.
I mean, we get enough family drama shit. You know, okay, in Casual's defense, the family drama shit sells like crazy on TV. It really does. But
Especially on the CW.
Yeah, but when you tune into a superhero show, you expect fucking superhero shit, not, you know, family drama. Maybe I just don't. I don't know. No thanks.
Life as a Justice League secretary.
You know, I would watch that just for the pure hilarity of it, and just for the pure shtick of it all. Life of a Justice League please, Rad, do me a favor. Sell me right now. I want you to sell me on Life as the Justice League secretary. I got the like little box in front of my eyes, you know, like that directors do. Like, oh, sell me on the story. Tell me this. I have it right now. Please sell me on it.
Okay, Brainiac is attacking at Metropolis, so I'm gonna have to move your. U.S. President meeting to 4 p.m. Is that good? Do you think you can save the world by then?
You know, I think I sold the show right there. I think we're going to get people lining up to buy this show. You know, and half the time it's just her talking to her friends because the Justice League is out saving the world. And there she is with her fucking feet up on the desk, painting her fucking toenails, gabbing to her friends about the fucking day. Yeah, totally. You know, it's like the stereotypical secretary. Yeah, I think we have a hit show in the making. We need to get this going.
It's like an evil version of the Justice League phoner and say, cancel all of my appointments. Just to fuck with the regular Justice League.
God damn it. But, back to the original story. Justice League 2 is... Justice League, god damn it. Injustice! If we can go back to a story started fucking 10 minutes ago. Injustice 2 is coming out in 9 days. Casual, you don't give a shit. Robbie, are you interested? I know, Rad, you're as hyped as I am, right?
I'll be interested in the story a little bit. Because I've been wanting to see Brainiac in it for a while, so I want to... the way I see it, I think they're going to kind of go for like a... you used to be bad, but now we have to team up to fight this even badder guy kind of thing, which is kind of a classy, cheesy storyline.
True, but it'll be fun because it's Brainiac. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Plus there's a dark side in it.
That, I was just like, wait, what? Fucking dark side? What? Yes! And you get to play as him? Yes! I mean,
and Red Hood.
But again, it's... I have an inherent problem with overpowered characters in fighting games that we know are overpowered, and then they depower them or uppower everyone else to make it an even fight. I mean, let's be honest. Darkseid and Superman should just be wiping the floor with everybody else, and then it's just Darkseid versus Superman.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, in Injustice 1's defense... the good Superman from the other universe came to the bad Superman's universe, and then they had their battle, and that's where it truly kind of came down to its head. You know what I mean? So it's in that one, at least it had the two gods facing each other. You know what I mean? But I remember when I saw the pills, I was just like, that's a bit corny, isn't it? I mean, you know, of all things you could have gone for, you went for the pill? Okay, sure. I'm just wondering, is that what they're going to go for with this one? Like the magical pills are still making everybody super strong again? Or is there going to be a force field this time? Is it going to be a fucking penile enhancement? What is it going to be this time that's going to make everybody super strong and be able to fight Darkseid, you know?
Kryptonite Viagra.
Jesus Christ. Kryptonite Viagra. Well, would it be more like Kryptonite Extends because it's supposed to make it bigger, right? So you can smack Superman across the face with your like kryptonite penis and just like leave a kryptonite mushroom stamp on his forehead and just like put a dent of your dick in his forehead?
I apologize to the podcast for that.
Was there ever any doubt it was going to circle around to that?
It's just like, don't give Stacy any more ammo about penis jokes. It's already going to be enough. Come on.
Well, I mean, thinking about penises and the Injustice game,
Okay.
Superman had a kid with Lois Lane, or he impregnated her.
Yes.
How did that work? I mean, why was that not like a shotgun going off in her vagina?
You know,
Okay,
you're not the
so
only person to wonder this. I promise you.
it's been okay. I don't know how they did it in the game or comics or whatever, but in the movie Superman 2, Superman becomes human for a little bit, and all of his powers are gone. Then he bones Lois, and then in the much, much later sort of sequel, Superman Returns, she has a kid, and that kid has superpowers that he's clearly Clark's kid. And so that could be one explanation.
You know, when I remember there was Superboy, and then there was the Metropolis Kid. Does anybody remember the Metropolis Kid?
Yeah.
Did that come from the cock of Superman or no? Or was that just like magically he had the same powers?
That was like after the death of Superman. That was like he was like one of 3 people who
I know,
showed up.
but obviously he
Yeah,
had to be
Superboy
born before
was-
he died.
No, Superboy wasn't even related to Clark, and his powers actually came from like psychic force fields.
What the fuck?
He's like a telekinetic. So
Really?
his flight and his super durability and everything all turned
Yeah.
out to be like psychic powers.
I mean, other than that, the other version of Superboy I've seen have either been a clone of Superman or a version of Superman from an alternate dimension.
I guess that works. Okay. Like I said, I've never been a huge Superman freak, so please, everybody who is a Superman fan and going, how does he not know this? Excuse me, please forgive me. I'm not exactly the biggest Superman fan. I am starting to convert, though. It's creepy. Just going like, oh, the Boy Scout guy is fun to watch. Read about. Let's read his comics. It's weird. It's weird. So I'm going from dark and dreary to chipper. It's fucking weird, man. You know?
Have you read that comic I sent you, Superman Red Sun, yet?
I started it, then I kind of lost internet connection, so my goddamn browser reset, and I forgot to reopen it. I need to read that.
You need to finish that, yes.
1 year, I promise. Like everything else I do in life, 1 year I'll finish it. I have so much shit going on at once, I usually can't. I'm lucky if I can finish masturbating before I have to go do the dishes. You know, sometimes I have to multitask. So, and, you know.
So before we get sidetracked again on dicks, bringing up comics,
Yeah.
Do we think that comics are like, there has been talk for years, oh, comics are dying, oh, they're gonna die, oh, they're gonna die, and they haven't died yet, but like newspapers kind of did die, and magazines are like on their last legs, mostly because people have iPads and you know, Samsung whatever things in their phones, and they can get it all digitally.
Yeah.
What do we think about comics as a print form? Are they gonna be around forever, or are they going to die?
As a print form, I'm going to say it's going to die eventually. It has to. I don't see them ever staying paper forever. You know, I mean, look at newspapers, look at books, look at magazines. I just don't see comics as a print form staying around. And will they survive in the digital form? I
mean, looking at books, if you compare them to book, I mean, you said look at books, but
Yeah.
when I look at books, I see, oh, then comics are going to be around for a long time, because books, for me at least, don't seem to be going anywhere.
Right. But here's my thought on like the digital comics is no, like, first of all, they're not selling them hard enough. Like they're just kind of sort of selling them, you know, selling the idea of them, and they still want you to buy the print comics, which seems like a bad idea in general. You know, they should really be converting. But at the same
Go ahead,
at the same time, I think, will it matter? Because like the movies and the TV shows are so good right now that like I don't even really care about the comics anymore, whether it was digital or not. I like my movies. I like my TV shows.
When you say they're not pushing it hard enough, do you think it's a bit like my old field of work, which was radio, working in talk radio specifically, where they know the internet exists? When satellite radio came about, we took a huge hit. Luckily for the state of radio, at least, satellite died. Well, not necessarily died completely, but at least died died down quite a bit for the hype. Now that they see the internet, they're like going, podcast, we'll be fine. We'll exist forever. Radio will never die out, where radio numbers are dropping in droves. Because people are much rather just have their device in their hands and listening to them on earbuds than have an actual radio on all the times. Do you think maybe comics are kind of like that, where they're going like, oh, we'll never die off. We'll never go completely extinct. Why should we convert? We're rock solid. And in a way, they're also a bit scared because they don't fully understand how to do it.
I say comics as a print form are going to be around because the difference with where the analogy loses some steam is when you get to, okay, a radio show, they could, they're on from, say, 4 to 7, for a 3-hour block.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about everything during it, but it's only from 4 to 7 of a certain day. If you're busy, you can't listen to it. Podcasts and stuff, you can listen to that whenever you have free time or whenever you're doing something monotonous.
Very true.
So you can save it for later. Comics, as a print form, they're already like that. You don't miss out on anything by putting it down for a while.
Well, okay, but you can get that same, like, in print. I just don't see that happening. Whereas if they were to convert to digital, then maybe I could see that because you can get your comics on your iPad or whatever. But I think it's like what Stacy was saying. There's just kind of this old man mentality. And that is that the people running things are literally old. And they don't understand how to... They either don't understand or they don't want to understand how to convert to the new thing, whatever the new thing is.
I would say that there are digital comic services, but we're also a long way from the newspaper type comics.
Mm-hmm.
With the comics of the 70s, where it's on the newspaper stock and stuff like that. So I think that print comics will still be around because there are always going to be people who are going to want the physical comic.
That's, kind of like with my thought on the books earlier, because I've seen digital books become huge. I'm one of those people who just prefers a book. I like the turning of the page. It's just easier for me, where if I read on a electronic device, I either fall asleep way quicker or I start to feel fatigued in my eyes, and it just feels awkward. It just doesn't read as well personally. So I can see where you're coming from, but I have a funny feeling that eventually it's going to go, LOL, why are we wasting the trees? Let's just put this shit on the internet and be done with it,
I agree that it'll go that way eventually, but I'm wondering how much longer that'll be. Will it be sooner than later, rather?
Personally, I think it'll be sooner, but that's just me and my pessimistic view of the whole situation, I suppose.
I think that, like, your idea of the print always being in print, similar to books, is somewhat sound. Because I agree. I like a book. In one of the episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the character Giles, who's kind of an old fuddy-duddy, is complaining about computers versus books. And one of the things he says, and it's kind of true, is books smell.
Yes.
It's a weird thing to think about, but books have a smell because of the paper, because of the process, whatever. And
I've gotten high off of the smell of the ink of a new book before.
It is a nice thing when you're reading a book. And again, I think it was Stacy or somebody mentioned, just the feel of a book. It's nice to turn the pages.
So like a tactile sensation there.
But I don't think it will be like a big thing. I think it'll be like vinyl records. I think that vinyl records still exist.
Oh, I still play vinyl in my house all the time.
But they are a niche market now. They're only made for like limited release. You only get a few thousand copies of any given album made on vinyl anymore, and it's mostly a collector's market. And I think that's what's going to happen to books and comics eventually.
Yeah. Thinking about that, also, I have to think about small publisher comics, because like with I can see like the large companies like Marvel and DC and Dark Horse, etc. Eventually, maybe probably reluctantly going full digital, and with, like Casual said, having physical copies only for those, like the small percentage that want them. But also with small press comics, they kind of largely rely on that physical copies at conventions, selling like in the artist alley. That's full of people creating their own comics and selling them as physical copies.
Speaking of really old format of things, I'm holding in my hands a brand new cassette tape. When's the last time?
New?
Yeah, it's brand new. It was from one of my favorite artists, Dave Haas. He released like a mega pack of collector shit you can get. It came with like 2 T-shirts, 2 posters, the CD, the digital download MP3 for the whole album. Plus, it came with the vinyl, which I play all the time. I love it. And it came with a cassette tape, which is still in its packaging. When's the last time you've heard of anybody making something like a fucking cassette tape?
I don't know. Like even with artists, like music artists, if they want to go old school, they usually go straight to vinyl rather than stop at cassette.
Right.
That was my exact thought.
I think it has to do with the resurgence of 80s nostalgia again. And I say again because 80s nostalgia keeps coming back every 5 years or so, 5 or so years. There's another minor resurgence. Like, for example, Guardians of the Galaxy had, the first one had the whole cassette tape thing, which that cassette would not last 23 years or whatever. But it's funny and stuff, and with the second movie coming out, with Thor having this weird 80s throwback feel, I think it just has to do with that. It's just like a nostalgia thing.
Am I the only person who detested the 80s?
Yes.
I don't know. I wasn't there.
I was born in the 80s, so I had to live through part of it. But no, it's just looking back, I was like, oh, God, the hair, the clothes, what the fuck were we thinking?
Gloriously bad. That's what I consider it. Gloriously bad.
But it's almost hipster point of thinking how bad it was. It's good. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yes. But, oh, God, dude, and some of the music was just vomit-worthy. Fucking Duran, really?
Oh, don't you dare.
Fucking
sir, I will fight you.
Flock of fucking seagulls, really? I mean, good God, damn.
I didn't really get in on that whole thing, but
you're so lucky. It brought the bile to the top of the throat a little bit. Let's just put it that way.
Do you know what else people should miss about the 80s? Board games. Or tabletop gaming.
Yes, but it's still huge. In niche markets, it's fucking huge and it's thriving. But I know there's one that's coming out, which I'm thinking about getting, not to necessarily play it, but just to collect it because it's my favorite gaming series, which is Fallout.
Yeah.
But is there going to be anybody out there who's like, oh boy, I can't wait to play Fallout on the fucking board? Roll the dice. I can't see that huge of a market for it.
Well, I mean, speaking of things going digital, you can play board games like as digital games now. So I'm wondering, how long before they start going down?
That
the same
started
route?
on Sega because we could play Clue, you could play Monopoly, all those on the Sega. You know, I remember playing the Sega Clue all the fucking time, like just pathetic amount of times I'd play Clue and Monopoly on the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega. God damn it, Stacy, get your systems right. Before we start the Bit Wars again. But you know, it was cool.
Yeah, but even back then, it would be like nothing. It wouldn't be anything like the fucking actual board game.
Oh, of course not.
With modern technology, it's a bit more. They're a bit more comparable.
But is there any market for this? Like, is there going to be a future for board games? You know, and are you excited for the Fallout board game?
Okay, so we already have like lots of board games gone digital and stuff, but the reason that board games sell is because families exist, and there comes a point in many a family like dynamic, assuming that they're trying to make an effort to be friendly with each other, which TB would tell us is an anomaly, but the board game isn't about the game. It's about the connection. It's about getting together as a family or as a group of friends and having a fun time outside of whatever you're doing. It's just a way to get together. And that's why pen and paper games like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff still exist, because it's just about getting together and having a fun time. So I think board games are kind of going to be one of those exceptions where they're never going to go away.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it anyway.
What would you? Go ahead. I'm sorry, Robbie.
I mean, I understand exactly what Casual was saying, but I felt the exact same way about multiplayer video games, the old kind where you would sit on a couch with your friends and play video games together in the same room.
Yep.
And while that is still a large thing, it's definitely gone much more, I guess, digital, you could say, but I don't know what a better word for that would be, but I guess or more online.
Yeah, because me and you could do that, Robbie, and you live on the other side of the fucking ocean from me, you know?
Yeah, so I think if something that like that, which I feel the same way about board games, could go that way, I don't see board games not going that way as well.
Well, it depends, though, because, like, and I totally get what you're saying, because online has become such a big deal, especially since the Xbox. But what I would argue is that the Switch, which everybody made fun of the original commercials for the Switch because they were showing these ridiculous scenarios where people were taking the Switch to the park and their friends' rooftop parties and all of this other stuff. The irony is, it's happening. Like, people that own a Switch that can actually get a hold of it, they are taking it places and they're setting it up, and they're using the two controllers, and they're playing. People are interested. They're like, "What's that? Oh, this is my Switch. Want to play?"
I don't know if I'd have the confidence to take that anywhere outside.
Well, but my point is that it's actually working, strangely enough, and I think that kind of shows that people do still like the actual social interaction.
Yeah, I don't think that. Yeah, I definitely see what you mean. I don't think that'll ever go. The social interaction will ever go away, and it always annoys me about people that say things like cell phones and computers are stopping us from having that kind of social interaction. When in reality, it's making that kind of social reaction more easier and more feasible than ever.
But But at the same time, it definitely does have that disconnect of you're connected through a screen, but you're not connected physically. But at the same time, does that really fucking matter nowadays? I don't think so. I mean,
Well,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. You lose out on the face-to-face stuff because it's just if you're on the internet all the time, it's just text on the screen. You can't really have a lot of emotion in that, sarcasm, stuff like that. Yeah, you could do voice calls and stuff like that, but but then you're not talking to the people around you.
Yeah, I'll definitely give you that. And also, by the way, Rad, when your little dog was just scratching his neck there, I could have swore it was Arthas. So I'm looking around the room like, where the fuck is Arthas at? I can hear him, but I can't see him. Oh wait, that's Rad's dog. Never mind.
It's funny because I accidentally, when I heard that, I automatically thought, is that Stacy's dog? Now I just look at the screen and see it's Rad's, the one making sound.
Oops. Oh, by the way, casual. With things that are going out, I remember seeing the new Alien was coming out. Now, maybe I'm just too into gaming, but when I first saw it, I was like, oh, sweet. A sequel to Alien Isolation. I can't wait. And then you would not believe the look of despair and disappointment in my face when I saw it was a movie. And that's when I stopped and went, wait, they're still making fucking movies of this?
Isn't the new Alien supposed to be like a sequel to, what was it, Prometheus?
Well,
so it'd be a second prequel? Because I thought Prometheus was a prequel.
Okay, so here's the thing about some movies. And this is not just for Alien, but this is just some movies. It doesn't matter how bad they get. You just have to go see the movie. I will always see a James Bond movie. Now, part of it is because, like in James Bond's case, it's kind of a roller coaster of some are bad, some are good. Mm-hmm. So you just want to go see what James Bond is doing in this adventure this time. I would say the same thing is kind of true for Alien for me. Like, as a franchise, I mean, depending on whether or not you count Alien versus Predator movies, there's like 5 or 6 of them now. Mm-hmm. And aside from the original 2, the other ones have, let's face facts, been bad. You know, they haven't been good at all. Like, they've had maybe a good idea. I thought that the idea in Alien 3 was pretty okay, but the execution was terrible.
It was a pile of shit. Let's just be blunt here, man. Let's just be blunt. It was a pile of shit.
Right. And the same thing with the Alien Resurrection. You know, it was very comic booky, and I enjoy parts of it just from, you know, mostly a dialogue aspect because Joss Whedon did it, but it was a pile of crap. I have to see what they do next. You know, it's like the Terminator movies. They're all terrible now. The first 2 were great. The last 3 have been terrible. But if they make another one, which supposedly James Cameron got the rights back to it or something, and he's going to make the next one, I still don't think that'll save the franchise, but I want to see what happens next. I want to see how bad it gets.
It blew my mind when we were talking about this in the pre-show to see if we want to talk about it or not, and you're going, yeah, it's the Alien's done for, it's shit, it's crap, but I'm going to go see it. How do you make that jump of wanting to disappoint yourself? I just don't get it.
Well, but I'm not disappointing myself because I know it's going to be bad. Like in my deepest soul, I have no illusions to the idea that it's going to be a bad movie. So when I go see it, I'm expecting nothing but bad, and that's what I got out of Prometheus. That's what I got out of Resurrection. You know, and
this is like me going to see the next Transformers movie.
Yeah, probably, except I refuse to see those ones.
No, whoa. Okay, wait. So you're willing to get disappointed, and you're willing to expect disappointment from Alien, but you're still going to see it. But Transformers are like, fuck that entire franchise. You're not
Okay, but the
What?
difference is Transformers was never good. Never. The first Transformers movie,
Okay,
the
yeah.
only good part was 20 minutes of it at the very beginning, and then after that, it was just a huge pile of crap with all the terrible dialogue, all the terrible scenes, the terrible way that they did. It's just all terrible. So I can't get invested in a series that was never good.
I would say with Transformers, there were parts of it which are cool, like what the capabilities of when they transformed and put themselves together and shit. There were interesting things, but
I absolutely hated the way the fucking Transformers looked in those movies.
really,
They look like piles of scrap metal.
that's what I always kind of expected when I read when I watched the cartoons as a kid. I always just kind of like thought they looked too put together. I always wanted them to look more scrappy because they came from a different planet and they copied it. How could they be perfect?
And you'd have to put it in the hands of somebody not Michael Bay, but if they had done the Transformers to looks, I agree that the actual toys were a little bit too clean, and nowadays the Transformers are terrible toys.
Yeah.
Oh my god, they don't even transform anymore. They're just. Ugh. But if they had gone somewhere in between, like somewhere in between the toy and what they currently have, and made it still kind of look like something instead of just a bunch of scrap metal in a humanoid form, then I would have been maybe a little bit more behind it.
I would have liked that, but as they are now, they just hurt to look at.
Yeah.
To look at.
And yet you're going to go see it. So explain that to me.
Oh, I'm not going to go see that garbage. I
I'm
Robbie
saying
is.
Robbie
I was going to say, don't put that on me, man.
It's one of these things where I've been wanting to see Transformers on the big screen since I was a very little kid, and now that they are, I'm kind of like, they're terrible, but I still want to see the new Transformers on the big screen because I think Unicron is going to be in this one, and he's always been one of my favorites since the original animated movie.
For those that don't know, Unicron is a giant planet that eats things.
And I'm like, I've always wanted to see a movie, like a live-action movie of Unicron, so it may be terrible, but I've kind of always wanted to see it.
I think we're all guilty of this, because look at me with Batman. Every fucking Batman movie that's ever came out, I give it a chance instantly, even though I know I'm going to be horribly disappointed by it, because I know they're going to fuck it up. I'm
exactly the same way with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies as well.
See, that one I never got into, even as a kid,
because I loved it as a kid. Yeah.
By the time that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were a cartoon for kids, I had already read the comic they were based on, and the comic is nothing like that. The comic was a commentary on the ridiculously of comics in general and the over-the-top violence that some things should be like it was like a comment on what a real vigilante type character should have been. And it was violent, it was awful in the sense of not like badly done, but it was like, oh my word, this is horrific. I can't believe they're doing this. And when I saw the first like episode or two of the show, I was like, this is like a kids show. This is a terrible, just kids show. What the hell?
I'm guilty of never reading the comics. I just never gave them a chance. Now I really want to. Well, at least the old ones.
Yeah, I was going to say, make sure it's the original Eastman and Laird ones, because those are the ones that are the violent. Judge Dredd was another one. Judge Dredd was originally supposed to be a commentary by the creator on the violence inherent in comics, and he just took that violence to an extreme. But then they made movies and DC took over the franchise, and they completely lost sight of why it was made the way it was.
Yeah.
Well, for Dread, they made the Sylvester Stallone movie, which was a train wreck. And they made the one from a few years ago, which is actually not that bad.
Oh fuck! They made a second one, didn't they? I completely forgot about that.
Well, it wasn't it was a remake.
Well,
it was
that's what I
like
mean.
Yeah.
I saw a classic Stallone movie last night, Demolition Man.
Oh, I was stuck between
love
loving
that
it
movie.
but hating it at the same time. Here,
It's a terrible movie, but I love it. It just revels in its own terribleness.
I keep forgetting that Rob Schneider was in that movie as well.
Rob Schneider being
yeah.
Rob Schneider doing Rob Schneider things. Okay, guys. Going from one disappointment to another disappointment, and pretty much everything's been a disappointment except for The Mist from every fucking Stephen King book ever out there. I mean, let's look at the Lawnmower Man. Went from a short story that was just about an insane guy to this thing they turned it into in this turd of a movie. They're going to be taking the Dark Tower movie, Dark Tower series, and turning it into a movie. But apparently they're not doing it the way they're supposed to. Robbie, I know you heard a little more about this than I did. What exactly the fuck are they doing, and why are they going to destroy it?
Well, from what I can tell, from what I've been gathering since they announced it, rather than going like the Harry Potter movies, book by book, and creating a movie for each one, they're taking bits and pieces and amalgamating them into a quote-unquote coherent story for just a single movie. And with a series as long as The Dark Tower and as big as the books are, I don't know how well that's going to work, if at all.
I mean, I've heard people go, well, why does Stephen Kong, that's it.
Stephen Kong versus Godzilla.
Stephen Kong, Skull Island.
But Stephen King, why does Stephen King let this happen to his books? Shouldn't he have more control? Well, basically what happens is they go, hey, we really want to make a movie out of this. Can we buy the rights? Sure, there you go. And he can't have any control past that. And that's why all of his movies flop. Well, quote-unquote, his movies, because from his books.
First of all, his movies don't all flop. There's a ton that are extremely popular, but...
Well, okay, let's take it from the reader of the books. The people who read the books and went, wow, this is an amazing book, to the shitty movie.
The movies don't do the books justice by all accounts. I have tried reading Stephen King. I'm not a big fan of the way he writes. I'm not saying he's a bad writer. I'm just saying I can't read it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I will say is that if you haven't read the books and you're taking his movies just as whoever directs them, most of them, a few notwithstanding, Lawnmower Man was awful.
Sorry, I'm still getting shivers thinking of that thing.
They do end up being pretty good. Like, I loved The Shining. I thought Stanley Kubrick's version of The Shining was amazing. I loved Misery. I loved Dolores Claiborne. And that's a really interesting movie if you've never seen it. It looks interesting. Like the new one, it looks really interesting. Like I'm interested to see it, and I had no interest in the first one because clown in the sewer, whatever.
That was an amazing movie, and the book was 12 million times better. But that's if you can read through that long of a book and just handle it. Yeah, I mean,
well, and that's that's kind of the issue is that some of Stephen King's books are pretty hefty. Like, for instance, The Stand is like 1 million pages long.
Oh.
And the miniseries that they did, from what I understand, just did not do it justice. Like, at all. But I actually kind of liked the miniseries.
The only time I could think of it, honestly, to me personally, would have been the Mist, or what he called it was the Fog, but they turned it into the Mist. The only thing that they really, truly deviated from, except for small here or there things, was the ending. Now,
which, by the way, huge spoilers if you don't know.
Yeah, but it's been out for how fucking long? Deal with it.
I'm just saying, huge spoilers incoming.
The ending where in the book it was just we're going to keep driving, we're just going to keep going, we're going to see what happens, but he never tells you, but you kind of figure what's going to happen, right? You're just like, oh, they're probably just going to kill themselves. That's it, and they're just going to be done with it, and they're just going to give up. You're just kind of like, okay. Well, then the movie itself, though, they get into the car like, fuck, we only got enough bullets for, I think it was 4 of us, and there's 5 of us in the car, if I remember correctly, wasn't it? The kid, the
I don't know, but basically
Anyway.
he decides to end it for his family.
Exactly. Well, it wasn't all. It was his kid, and then there was
His kid is
2 or 3 people in the
wife
store.
and and anyway, he does that. He ends it for them, and then
and then
military.
not
saves
even like
everyone.
a minute later, the military comes rolling in to save everybody, and you stop and go. You couldn't help but feel and just go, what? And you emotionally went, oh, you poor bastard, because you got emotionally invested in him killing his kid for it out of pure mercy. You know, because it was a moment of like, oh, you felt so good for him because you're like, wow, you did a courageous thing by doing mercy for your kid. And then what happens? Oh, shit, you know?
I'll admit, when I first saw that scene, I burst out laughing.
Wait, what?
I'm a terrible person, but I did.
I'm an awful human being.
At
but
least you
shit.
admit it.
I was like, really? Now you're going to show up?
I actually had the misfortune of seeing the ending before I ever saw the movie, because I was watching one of those like YouTube things where, oh, worst endings of all time or best endings of all time, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So, but having never seen the movie, just understanding what was going on, I still think that was an awesome ending. Like, what a great way to end the movie.
Exactly. It was perfect.
Yeah.
It was exactly what the movie needed, but you couldn't help yourself go, fuck, man! Why? Just why? I mean, okay, now back to point, though. Do we see this type of emotional pull that we're getting off of the mist in the future for Dark Tower?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, when it comes to, like, what they're doing with the movie, like taking bits and creating their own coherent story with it, I don't know how well it's going to play off. I will say that I personally, I was interested by the trailer, especially the ending bit. I just kind of, I don't know. I'm just a sucker for those ending. I guess I don't know what you'd call them, like ending notes with the final line, where he well, I mean, I'm not going to say spoiler for a fucking trailer, but he he shoots his. He says he does like the gunslinger code, but he doesn't use he who does X has forgotten the face of his father every time. He does it once, and then he just the last one where he says I don't kill with my gun, and then he aims it and shoots without looking, and like it goes like through a mirror, a shirt, and then a bit of like corn, and then shoots the guy in the head, and then he says, "I kill with my heart." That gave me kind of chills. So maybe it's just like Idris Elba's performance, but that made me want to think, yeah, I definitely want to read the books now, and I maybe want to go see this movie.
Okay, so see, I'm the opposite. Like, I saw the trailer, and I haven't read the books either, but I saw the trailer, and all I could think was, okay, Idris Elba's cool, but that's, like, duh. But I literally saw nothing in that trailer that made me go, ooh, I want to see this movie. Like, it just felt like a bunch of sound and noise, and Idris Elba's cool.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering who the movie's going to be made for. Like, as a book reader, do the book readers care about this? Like, do they want this the way it's being done?
I think it may be made for those people, like you were saying earlier, that haven't read the books because Stephen King makes way too big books. And they just they prefer the movie versions of those things. Maybe it's probably for those people.
But I mean, I don't know. It just like I agree that, but if they're, I'm a person that doesn't just watch a trailer. I also hear the info, and from what you've told me about it, I'm like, if they were going to turn each of the books into a movie and make a franchise out of it, like Harry Potter for a darker, more adult audience or whatever,
Yeah.
I'd be totally down with that. I'd watch the movies, all of them, you know, hopefully they'd be good. But if they're just making one movie out of a series of books that's what, like 7 books or something,
Yeah, that's 7.
it feels like a missed opportunity. Like, what's their plan if, like, let's say that this is successful, that it's a great movie, even if it doesn't follow the book, and a bunch of people go see it, it becomes the Avengers of Stephen King. It's the greatest thing. Everybody wants to see a sequel. If they've mixed a bunch of the books into one, what do they do next? Do they create original stuff that might not play as well? I mean,
I think they'll do what movie companies always do, which is just fuck up the entire franchise. But, you know, okay. More movies being made. What happens after this one if they decide to make another one? What happens if, you know, Pirates 5 does come out? Which it sounds like it's going to, right? Or it's on its way out,
yeah,
correct?
it's coming out this summer sometime. Like,
When was the last Pirates released?
ooh, longer than the distance between Pirates 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, just a quick question. Small, funny. Who the fuck cares? I didn't know there was a demand for this movie.
I would say Johnny Depp cares because he gets a paycheck.
Okay, I'm talking about people who are demanding a Pirates 5. Really? Who asked for this to be made? Well, besides Johnny
Okay.
Depp, so you can have a paycheck.
Disney.
Because Pirates 4 was actually better than 2 and 3.
Whoa, that's a statement right there.
You don't want to know?
Please explain.
I was about to say, go for it, dude, please.
Well, it's better because it doesn't get too big for itself. You know, 2 and 3 was all about, double, triple, quadruple crossing. And yet Pirates 4 was more like the first movie. It's more of an adventure going in one direction. Not pulling on 50 storylines at the same time.
I can actually sort of see that.
You know, it's more, here's our start point, here's our end point, shenanigans ensue from start point to end point. Pirates 2 and 3 was more, we're kind of making it up as we go, and we're just kind of going to see if we can get somewhere with this eventually.
Well, to be fair, Pirates 1 was... I don't think Pirates 1 was ever really intended to have a sequel. Yes, it ended with that, I took part of the map and let's keep going. But I think
No,
that
it was
was
not.
just that typical like thing that Hollywood does with any movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then it made tons of money. And people were cosplaying as Barbossa and Jack Sparrow and all of this stuff. And so they said, money, and one of the things I actually loved about Pirates 2, I think Pirates 2 is better, but it's only better because Pirates 1 set the stage. And what made it better was it did just about everything better. Like, it had better action sequences. It had a better, a little bit darker plot with Davy Jones and that whole thing. And I think it even did the jokes better. Like, it had more funny moments between Johnny Depp's character and the former captain dude of the East India Trading Company. I don't remember his name either, but it just... the thing that I hear complaints about for the Pirates franchise is that it delved too much into the lore. And we've talked about this before. Where do you go if you don't delve into the lore? Like it's the same complaint people have about the Matrix sequels is, oh, it was so lore heavy. Well, yeah, but if you don't do lore, then you just get more action and you get Iron Man 2. And people complained about that one as well. Oh, Iron Man 2 was just a bunch of robots fighting Iron Man again. You can't have it both ways, you know?
I totally agree. Oh, the best way I can describe, I think, is why I, one, had no idea there was a fifth one coming out, and why I give so little of a shit. The only thing I remember from any of the Pirates movie, the only quote, the only memorable part of any of the Pirates movie that was, for me at least, was, can we all guess what the only thing I remember is? I want
no
you to
idea.
guess. Rad, do you have any idea at all?
I've got a job done.
Yep,
Guess
that's
what's inside it.
That's it. That's the only part that ever stuck with me. Otherwise, the rest of the movies were just kind of like meh. It never connected with me. I never really got into it. I usually started to zone out about a quarter of the way through. You know, like cell phone, blah, 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 you know.
I think that kind of goes to everybody's individual movie experience, like what they go to movies for. Like me, I go to a movie for different reasons. Like if I'm expecting the movie to be a dumb, fun movie, for example, Jurassic World.
Oh, God.
The only reason I went to see that, because it was like Alien. I knew it was going to be bad. But what I wanted from it was dinosaurs eating people. What I got was dinosaurs eating people. The movie was terrible, but the dinosaurs ate people, and I was happy.
You enjoyed the movie for what it was. For me,
Right.
Batman v Superman. Batman and Superman going at it. That's what I got, and I was happy.
They went at it, huh?
But see, but they didn't go at it enough. They went at it for like 5 minutes in a 2.5-hour movie. You know, when you call your movie Batman v Superman, first of all, that's actually a legal term, so it should have been Batman and Superman in a courtroom fighting over some legal issue. But when you call your movie a versus movie, I expect to see Batman and Superman duking it out like multiple times. And they really didn't. It was mostly Batman. It was mostly the one scene where Superman owned Batman, and then the next scene where Batman owned Superman, and it was kind of pointless.
So you go to see them the same reason I go to see a Godzilla flick, not what the American Godzillas have given us.
Well, supposedly the second, the one in 2014 wasn't that bad, but I didn't see it.
It wasn't. It was actually decent. Characters were kind of not the greatest.
It was a decent movie, but it was an awful Godzilla.
But in that one, didn't Godzilla tear up some monsters? I mean, didn't
Yes.
you get that?
Barely. I mean, when you go to see Godzilla, okay, watch any Japanese Godzilla flick. You see almost the entire movie. I would say over half the movie is the battles, which is why you go to see Godzilla. The American Godzilla, they always fuck it up. They always go, well, they want to see, drama. They want to see all this. I don't fucking care if his wife died in the reactor. Great, wonderful. Can we get to Godzilla, kicking some ass and trashing some goddamn buildings here? That's what I came to see Godzilla for. You know what I mean?
That's why they make movies like Pacific Rim, and people still didn't like it.
Never actually seen Pacific Rim to this day.
Still making Pacific Rim 2, supposedly.
Yes, they are. I enjoyed Pacific Rim because
going back to Pacific Rim.
Going back to the bigger topic, we both knew what we were getting into. We had no expectations otherwise. Mm-hmm. We were satisfied with giant robots versus giant monsters.
Yes.
What's not fun about that, though? What's not fun about the fight scenes, the battles, the destroying of buildings? There's just so much fucking fun. Why can people not like that? I never understood how people, why people couldn't find enjoyment from that, and two, why things like the Godzilla movie was just slaughtered to high hell and brought in with a story about love and wanting to find the husband and the husband wanting to get back to the wife to save his wife and all that bullshit. It's a fucking monster flick. I don't give a fuck about this guy. I want to see the monsters fight. You know what I mean?
Well, that movie did also give us one of the best lines ever delivered by Ken Watanabe. Let them fight. Could literally have a movie of just him saying that, and it'd be worth it.
I loved most about him, his character would have been fantastic if they would have centered on him instead. Because, like, they didn't give a shit, then they gave a shit, then they didn't give a shit, then they gave a shit. It's like, okay, first off, focus on that guy, because he actually talked about the fucking monsters and made you excited for the battle. 1, and 2, if we're gonna fucking feature him in the movie, pay attention to his ass. Yeah, I mean, listen to him. Don't just ignore him, then care, then ignore, then care. You know, I was just so, Yeah, I mean, or no.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I agree. That's why I liked Pacific Rim, because it didn't. I mean, it had fun characters. You know, they were over the top, pretty much all of them, and they were ridiculous, but they were fun, and they didn't impede the basis of the movie, which was giant robots fighting giant monsters. I mean, they had like at least 3 or 4 major fights that I can remember. Plus, they even did little side, quick montage fights where they just showed them for half a second and stuff. You know, that's what we want out of some of our movies.
Yeah. When I think of Monster Fuck, I think of that. I think of just the pure fighting, the violence, that what it's all built up to. And like you said, if they have fun characters, they still center around the monsters, though, then it's great. Keep it. Fuck yes. But don't take away from it. That's what Godzilla did, you know? They took away so much from the fight. But you know what's sad? The sad thing to me is the fact that, sadly enough, 99 Godzilla was almost better.
Oh, take that back, sir.
Not because of the fact that it was a better monster flick. Sadly enough, the 2014 Godzilla was a better monster flick, I guess, technically, because there was more than just one. But at least in 99, the characters, if you were insisting on centering around the characters were better because they're actually fleshed out. They're more sold. They actually had better lines, in my opinion. They were actually fully fleshed out. Yeah, I mean, where in the 2014 one, it was just kind of really hollow characters put in there just to try to make the thing more Americanized so they could sell it, I guess. They could sell a monster.
Well,
flick.
And
this comes from a guy who's obsessed with Japanese Godzilla, okay? So don't get me wrong.
I can see where you're coming from. I kind of agree, but the problem is that Godzilla 99 was just an awful movie, you know, because it wasn't Godzilla. It was some giant lizard.
It was a giant iguana.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was also trying to bank on some of that Jurassic Parkness because the baby Godzillas were totally just raptors. But
yep.
What I will say is that at least with the 2014 Godzilla, they were trying. Like, they were trying to get that balance. They didn't achieve it as well as most people would have liked, I don't think. But they were trying. And I think giving them a sequel, which we know is inevitable, I think that they can probably achieve what they were going for, maybe with the next attempt.
Oh, because the next attempt is going to have King Kong in it.
I thought they were actually doing a second Godzilla before that.
Then your information is different from mine. Probably more up to date too.
I don't know. Well, last I heard, it's mostly rumor, but last I heard they were planning to do like Godzilla and actually do like multiple monster fights in the next one and bring in, you know, some of the classic whatever that company is, Toho.
Yeah,
I think
Toho.
is the
Well, my favorite
Yeah.
thing was this: is that the 2014 was released, and all of us true Godzilla fans were like, "This is a pile of shit. What are you doing?" So Hojo was like, "Really, America? You did it to us a second time." And what did they do immediately after they released they released a Godzilla, a true Godzilla again, and just wiped the floor with what Americans thought they could have did, and it was just like, this was so much better already. Like this new Godzilla that from Toho is just so much fucking better. It's just, I guess, when once again, growing up watching the Toho Godzilla and being sold on it, and then seeing this new one, I was like, they didn't really capture the essence of it at all. But anyway, I think it's about time that we should probably wrap up the podcast. I am Stacy Korger. Who are you guys?
I am Rad Hazard.
I am casually challenged, and I'm not sure if Robbie is listening.
I think.
I just
He is here, guys. So he is here. And as always, we're without Undead. I'm starting to think Undead's going to turn into our Babs from our Baba Walters from the View. Remember how in the old View way back when it first came out, it was 3 chicks and then Barbara Walters was the intro. Like, I'll be here sometimes if I feel like it. I'm starting to think that's what Undead's going to turn into. It's like, this is the Odd Bunch. We're such and such, and I'm Undead. I'm here whenever I feel like it.
I got confused and was waiting for Undead to say something.
Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time.